Hey, post editor here coming in at the start of the video. I wanted to make a bit of a clarification to an extent in case someone says, oh, this isn't new for them. Yes, I know last year that they put Sea of Thieves, Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, and was it Grounded on PlayStation into the Switch. So them putting games as in terms of on other console platforms isn't new at all. More so the point of this video is that with things like Forza Horizon going, which some people are saying, hey, if it's not going to be Forza, it's not going to be Halo, it's not going to be Master Chief or Gears of War because those are like the IP that you associate with Xbox, with Forza going towards PlayStation, going to PlayStation now, and Phil coming out saying, hey, there's essentially no red lines. As I mentioned in the video, like all cards are off or all bets, whatever the proper saying is, but essentially there's no limit into what will be going over. There's rumor, like, of course, rumor. Gears of War, Marcus Phoenix Master Remaster Collection going, Master Chief Collection is going over. So if Halo goes over to PlayStation, I'm just like, man, this is going to be a curious next few months and years, if you will. So, but that's the main topic of this video, is to just primarily give my thoughts and just ask a question as to what does this mean moving forward with more of their signature IP going over to PlayStation as well. So yeah, on to the rest of the video. All right, now trying something a little different with this green screen effect. So let me know if it's a little distracting with my floating disconnected microphone. But today I want to talk about the I'm over this micro adjusting everything, but I want to talk about the news of Microsoft pushing more into a third-party publisher, a multi-platform publisher, if you will. News came out that Forza will be going to PlayStation last week, I believe. And given the direct showcase that they had as well, there was a lot more multi-platforms than there were exclusive Xbox console games. So it's kind of stirred up, understatement, conversations in the industry, or at least on the interwebs, the Twitters, if you will, and the YouTubes, on what this means for Microsoft going forward and for Xbox in general, or Xbox in general, but essentially that, what does this mean for the Xbox platform moving forward? So firstly, I want to give my thoughts on the matter. How do I feel about them putting more of their games on PlayStation? With Forza going over, which if anyone's familiar with Gears, Halo, Forza, Mantra, whatever it is, this is one of their bigger IPs, if you will. Their signature tadpole, flagship pillar IPs, whatever you want to say. Granted, with the Activision, ZeniMax, Minecraft, and so much more, like Gears, Halo, Forza being their primary or their big popular or main franchises, if you will, is well past that. Like that's Call of Duty now, that's Minecraft, and whatever the third one, if you want to limit it to three, Elder Scrolls, I guess. So we're way past that, but still, with Forza going to PlayStation, this pretty much means all cards are off the table, or whatever the proper saying is. I believe Phil himself said that, hey, they're basically not redlining anything moving forward. So for myself, what does this mean, or how do I feel? I mean, it kind of is what it is. I'm not angry or upset or anything. Like some people are supposedly breaking their Xboxes, though, with AI and people just being dramatic. How much of that is true versus this internet clicks and stuff, what have you. But for me, it's whatever. I've always been someone who tried to own all the main consoles, just have every main platform, if you will. More so with PC, I would say last year, and I started getting to PC as well. But have a PlayStation, have an Xbox, have a Nintendo console. So for me, not much change in that regards in terms of like, hey, moving forward, if anything, maybe this just means I have one less console to purchase. And I know it's been like that for the longest, at least in terms of their games going to PC day and date. So I've never really needed an Xbox, if you will, but I've always preferred playing on consoles. And even this generation, I have a okay PC, but my Series X is much more stronger than my PC. So I still find myself playing a console, and just the whole simplicity of playing on console is why I play on console. So I'm not, again, upset or anything like that, but there is some topics I want to, or one area of this news that has got me a little disappointed, if you will. And it's more so their messaging over the years with like the ZeniMax, the Activision deal. More so in the ZeniMax, the conversation was that this deal is to bring like exclusive content to the consoles, the Xbox consoles out there, to give more confidence in the player base, if you will. And I know that they've been pushing PC cloud, so them pushing towards the multi-platform approach in that regards isn't anything new. It's more so putting your games on other consoles. And that's more significant because, at least for me, my logic approach on it is that the PC, yes, they were putting games on PC day and date, but you have those guys that prefer consoles, as I said, for myself. So even if they are on PC, I would primarily go towards the console. Same with cloud. Cloud has its own issues. It's still a mark or a way of gaming that's not perfect. It's much better these days. I play some sessions on the xCloud that's phenomenal, but I would still prefer console or playing natively. So you still had a purpose for the console, if you will, between the PC and xCloud and so on and so forth they're doing. But with them putting games on PlayStation, more specifically like bigger games, I know Minecraft was on PlayStation before, and with Call of Duty being Call of Duty, like there's no way that wasn't going to go towards PlayStation. You kind of reduce the purpose of the Xbox, because again, if you had think of your average console guy that's like, okay, if I'm gonna go with a console, which one will I choose? And you can still make the case of Xbox makes sense because you couldn't play Gears Halo, Gears Halo Forza on PlayStation. Now that might not be the case. So again, my whole thing is the messaging, not being consistent on what their goals were. It's not like you guys you owe the consumers, how can I put it, telling them all your plans, if you will. But when you're talking on the topic and directly communicating on the topic, and you say one thing and then months pass, then you say another thing. It's like, if you're going to be discussing the topic with your fans, at least just be straightforward with them, not whatever would help quell their concerns for the time, and then you swap things around. Like when they announced 4 games going to PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, I was like, oh, we're just testing the waters. We're not gonna, this is just a test. I was like, come on, guys. Anyone who was logical about this knew that this wasn't just a test, and they were just putting those games first, and we were going to see more going forward. So, but yeah, this is, again, I don't really care too much because I'm gonna play everywhere. If anything, it's just one less console for me to purchase. But again, the messaging needs to be more consistent. That's always been there for whatever reason. That's just been Microsoft's issue these previous generations, is just that messaging. Another thing I want to talk about is, does this mean it's the death of Xbox? No. I've seen people talk about that, and I think the logical person knows that whenever they pose, how can I put it? Someone responded to, I've seen people saying, does this mean this is the death of Xbox? And it's like, no, this isn't the death of Xbox, it's too big. And I think any logical person understands that Xbox as a brand is not going anywhere. The bigger concern people have that are specifically in the console space is, what does this mean for the console moving forward? And does this mean the Xbox console is dead? And again, I know Phil and Sarah have said they're working on a new console, so I highly doubt, at least in the next generation, I highly doubt we're not going to get a console. But with the sales going down and with your games going to PlayStation and Nintendo, now it's like even more, if anything, to ask the question, how long do we have until the Xbox console is no more? Because at this point, I really don't see a future of them constantly selling it if it's just not making any money. If you're making good money on PC, if you're making good money on PlayStation, you're making good money on cloud, I don't see a future where they keep selling the console. Me personally, I could be wrong, and I would be happy if I'm wrong, because I'm used to, growing up in the generation of PlayStation 1, N64, then you had the Xbox, PS2, GameCube, and then 360, Wii, and PS3, and that's just what I'm used to. So old man shouting at the cloud, if you will, just the change in the industry. I would like the console to stick around, but times are changing, especially with the cloud becoming more and more bigger of a thing now. But again, when it comes to the console and whether or not people should continue to invest into the console specifically, it's a little messy. Like I said, if I'm going shopping for the PlayStation 6, for example, and I can get the next Xbox game on PlayStation, and I can get the next PlayStation game on PlayStation, then why would I get the Xbox console? I know someone will say, well, that's where the Game Pass comes into play, but I question how many people are willing to drop or not get a PlayStation or avoid dropping $500 if these consoles are $500, so $1,000 in total, to be able to play on PC or PlayStation and Xbox and use Game Pass, versus just saving that $500 and buying the Xbox games that you would prefer to have played and still getting Game Pass. And even then, I mean, there's still PC, but that's exactly that. So, but yeah, with the whole, is Xbox dying? No, but I think, again, people are more specifically asking it as the console and less so as the brand, because the brand is so huge now. Like, any sane person knows that the Xbox brand, the Xbox ecosystem that they're pushing towards, that's not going anywhere. If anyone really thinks that's the case, I was just saying I have a bridge to sell you or something like that. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about into my floating microphone here is people's response to some being upset about Microsoft putting more games on PlayStation. And what do I mean by that? Uh, Nintendo, or was I don't know what number generation it is, but PlayStation 1, PS2, the PS3, PS4 generation. What was the most important things, even at the start of this generation, and continues to be so throughout the generation? What is the most important thing people ask when it comes to buying a console? What are the exclusive that I am able to play only on that box to warrant and justify buying a console? I'm seeing people say, well, if he's eating and I'm eating, I don't know why people are complaining. And it's like, have we forgotten the importance of exclusives and why people were, when Microsoft was buying up all these studios, people were like, yes, this, what is this? This is bolstering their first party exclusive library, their first party exclusive lineup. And there are some people, I'm not going to name names because I might be misquoting them, maybe, but there were some people who at one point were saying, oh my gosh, this is amazing for Xbox with all these acquisitions, because this means think of all the exclusive that they're going to. Is Elder Scrolls 6 going to be exclusive? Is next Doom going to be exclusive? What does this mean for, again, their first party bolstering, if you will? And only to now change the tune of, you know, it's everybody gets it, so what's the problem? You know, it's kumbaya, it's kumbaya. And I'm not saying people have to be angry. I'm not saying everyone has to be angry. I'm just not a fan of people, for lack of a better term, feigning ignorance as to why it's a big deal to some. When you invest into an ecosystem, specifically a console, you're buying it for the games, and it's not like the games aren't going away from the Xbox. Of course, it's like you can still play the games there, but again, when your choice is, okay, I could buy a PlayStation or I could buy a Switch, and these are the games that are available to me, I wish I knew ahead of time before I bought the Xbox, because at that point, you could save some people money. Now, of course, they're not putting all their games day and date, and that's another question that I have moving forward, is what their release cadence is going to be. Forza Horizon, I forget the specific date that came out, but a year or two, is it going to be 6 months? People are asking, or people are saying Indiana Jones had like a 6-month exclusive window. So there's that, but Starfield, it's nearly been a year since, I mean, shit, when did Starfield release? This probably has been a year since, I've lost track of time, but Starfield's now on PlayStation. That's been almost a year or two. And people are, again, that's just me wondering, like, what is your message going forward in terms of release cadence? Because again, if Forza is going to PlayStation, anything's going to PlayStation at this point. It used to be a huge franchise for the Xbox, and selling franchise, if you will, for the Xbox, of reasons to get into the console if you are a console person. Now let's go into PlayStation. And I'm just curious on if we'll ever get a definitive answer to that, because Outer Worlds 2, for example, was announced as a console exclusive, only to be revealed, or only to have a new trailer, I think it was at the Game Awards, where they said, oh yeah, it's launching day and date on PlayStation now. So I'm like, you told me it was going to be a console exclusive, and now it's launching day and date on PlayStation. That's, again, going back to the messaging, and that's the area that I don't understand why they had such a trouble time. I guess maybe it's Phil button heads with Satya Nadella, who wants to do one thing and Phil wants to do another thing. But again, going back to the messaging thing, it's not doing them any favors. But again, just to circle things back, because I tend to get off track and talk all over the place. So what I wanted to cover in this video, how do I feel about it? It is what it is. I will personally move accordingly. Don't want to make it sound more dramatic than it will, but move accordingly. If I don't see any value in the Xbox console moving forward, at least the next one, I'm not going to sell my current Series X. I have it and I'm utilizing it. But if I don't see any reason to get the next one, I'm just not going to buy it. But if anyone else wants to get it, hey, more power to you. You got your own personal needs and expectations that you want, your own living situation, however you want to put it. So I'm not going to tell people not to get the console. But I won't say never. I'm never going to get the console, because there are people that are probably like, hey man, 10 years ago you said this and now you're doing Y. I'm just like, y'all went that far back? I mean, I appreciate watching the video, but still, when it comes to, is Xbox dying as a brand? Obviously not. They have a whole ecosystem growing now. They have PC Cloud, your Samsung smart TVs, handheld Legion Go support. I guess I don't know how they're supporting the handheld market, but they got so many avenues that they're putting their games onto and getting or bringing them onto the ecosystem. The brand's not going nowhere. But the console, on the other hand, that's a question, and I think it's a valid question to be to ask, but only time will tell. Again, I wish we had transparency. And the last thing is, or second to last, I just remember another topic I want to discuss on the same topic. But when it comes to people asking or feigning ignorance as to why people are taking issue with more first-party games going to PlayStation is that, hey, not too long ago, we were all championing the importance of exclusives for the consoles. Even people are saying, why would you buy acquisition and put your, or not, why would you buy acquisition? Why would you buy ZeniMax and put your games anywhere? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, kumbaya, guys. Everybody's eating. What's the problem? Like, bro, like a year ago, everybody was on the same page for the most part of the importance of exclusives, and now we're wondering why people are upset that their console of choice doesn't have exclusives anymore, or somewhat doesn't have exclusives. Again, we don't know if it's going to be timed, if it's going to be 6 months, 3 months, however their release cadence is going to be. But we don't know. Now, the last topic or part of this discussion I want to cover before this video is 30 minutes long is Phil's response to why would I buy the console. This was in their gamer tag radio, which I will link down below, the interview he did. But his response was, I want them to come to our ecosystem for one. I won't say for one, but primarily for hardware. And what I'm assuming for that is you're going to the next Xbox because of what it offers from a hardware features perspective compared to the next PlayStation or the Nintendo Switch. And I'm curious to see how that plays out. Over the generations between the two consoles, at least capability wise, they've mostly been similar in terms of what they can do now. I know the Xbox One generation to the PS4 was not that good because the Xbox One was an underpowered mess, to say the least. But even then, again, they got the same games. They mostly played the same games. Even when the One X came out to the PS4 Pro, like, it was better in some areas, but not to such a huge degree that if someone say, which one should I get performance-wise? I mean, like, if you're that huge on performance, why not get a PC? But so much so, I'm just like, whichever first party you prefer, because they're so similar in performance. So if their main selling point moving forward is going to be hardware, I'm curious to see how that's going to be. Of course, Game Pass is definitely a selling point for those who wants to play the first party Xbox games along with the third party games that are in there. That's a selling point as well. But again, on the topic of hardware, I'm curious to see how that would play out. I know that they've kind of been hinting at a handheld, so I'm curious to see how the handheld plays out. And I think Sarah Bond said it's going to be the largest technical leap of a generation when they unveil their next console. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. But yeah, so like I said, I've kind of been rambling on, but I'm going ahead and stop this end things here with this whole green screen terrible effect in my floating microphone. For people who made it this far, let me know what you think down below. I kind of dig the background that I got going on. I need to get like a proper green screen because this one is purely off of like AI, whatever phone app that I'm using for my webcam. So it's not like a awesome one. Now get off topic. And with that being said, also, what's your thoughts on Microsoft third-party push or multi-platform push, if you will? Are you happy about it? Are you critical? I won't say upset, but are you critical about it? And what's your critique behind it? Again, when it comes to consoles, I understand some people's concern of like, I invested into this box, now you're putting your games elsewhere. Like, you should have told me that so I save money and buy a PS5. So, but I don't know. But we're gonna go ahead and end things here, and yeah.